Now, the Danes have steamed him to Michael Oliver, who refereed the game against Germany that they were involved in the other night over two big calls, one an offside.
Not his fault.
Not his fault. And the other, a handball, also not his fault.
No.
The referees have been given directives to give those as penalties, which is absolutely shocking. And we've
I don't know what they think. Are they happy when it's a penalty?
I don't know. Do you
Rossetti
think David Ellery phones Rossetti and Kalina?
Oh, that's great.
Do they get in a huddle when?
I can't think. That was what the rule was brought in for. Everybody thinks it's wrong, but they're so stubborn. Why are they so stubborn about it?
Well, it wouldn't have been a goal it wouldn't have been a penalty in the Premier League. I don't know if Dale Johnson agrees. He joins us now from ESPN, Mr. VAR. Hi, Dale.
Hi guys, how are you doing?
Not bad, thank you. I did feel slightly for Michael Oliver because it kind of wasn't of his doing. Once he went to that monitor, he's been told by Mr. Rossetti, the head of the referees, that he's got to give that, hasn't he?
Yeah, and we saw a similar one at the World Cup, funnily enough, involving France and Upamecano. Almost exactly the same arm position from close proximity, where his right arm, which was slightly creating a barrier. Now, in FIFA and UEFA's mind, they say that if there's a barrier being created, then that is gaining an advantage by stopping the path of the ball. Now, we all know that in a situation with Anderson and the same with Upamecano in the World Cup, these players were running. So you should expect that they should have their arms in a position where it's not going to be down by their side. There's going to be a mechanical movement of running. So that should be taken more into account, really. And we do see that in the Premier League. Remember the Ashley Young handball penalty appeal, which Nottingham Forest were really angry about. And the Premier League said that wouldn't be given in our competition. Yet with UEFA and FIFA, they say that this is creating this barrier and this should be penalised. So really, it's similar with some other decisions we've seen at this tournament. For instance, the offside in the Netherlands goal. UEFA will firmly and fully support those decisions because it's how they want their games to be officiated.
It was the closest of close offsides. You'll know this, but with the semi-automated system, the exact moment the ball is played forward, can they tell that from that system as well?
Yeah, it's exactly the same as Snicko in terms of the Snicko tells them at the moment the momentum of the ball has been changed by a touch. So that's what makes this far more accurate than the system that we had in the Premier League last season, whereby it's all about stopping frames and drawing lines and everything. But as I've said on this show several times, we were always going to see a return to the toenail offside. And we actually got a toenail offside in this game. It was so tight. I talk about this on social media, and it's a real split, really. There are people that say offside is offside. If a player is offside, even by a small amount, then the decision should be given. But then again, you've got the other side, which says, how can a player be gaining any kind of advantage when he's got such a small part of his body in front of a defender? And I think there's merits in both decisions, but UEFA and FIFA believe that this technology, this new technology, is so much more accurate that there doesn't need to be any type of margin of error to give something to the attacking team.
They've tweaked and tweaked and tweaked, finally, down the offside law so many times they've disappeared up their own fundament. And it was one of those things that was never that contentious. I mean, barring Maradona, one or two outliers. There was this
Handball,
sort of...
you mean?
Sorry?
Handball.
Handball. And there was this sort of tacit agreement between all of us, everybody involved in football, fans, players, managers, whatever. You recognised the deliberate handball when you saw one. And we've now got this sort of Frankenstein's monster of a law. They must know there's something wrong with it. But in an era of technology, how are you ever going to go back to something that's essentially a judgment call? I fear for it, really. I don't see it getting any better.
I think it's really difficult to improve it. The main issue that's created was this started back in 10 years ago in 2014 when the IFAB went through a 2 or 3 year period of trying to define in detail what is a handball. And they updated the law book to have a whole collection of different reasons why and what you should take into consideration. And that turned what was a pretty simple judgment by a referee of, is it handball or not, to take into account all these different factors that they should judge whether a handball offence has happened. What that actually did was created far more situations where a handball would be penalised than it ever was in the past. And the problem now is, if we want to fix this, you can't just go back to the old wording, because referees will say, well, if we're changing this, so what do I have to do? And so that's got to be defined. So I just think that the IFAB are going to find it really difficult to correct it in a way that's going to be understood on a global basis. But that doesn't change the fact whatsoever, but that we're in a horrible situation right now. But for all the issues that we have with VAR in the Premier League, and there are many, I would say that the way it's interpreted in England for handball is far simpler and far less controversial, although there's still obviously going to be many situations where fans will disagree with what decisions are given in one game to another.
Yeah. Dale, thanks very much as always.
Great to speak to you, chaps.
Dale Johnson there from ESPN. Yeah, it's a bit depressing, isn't it, really, on the handballs?
What a mess.
Paul Hawksbee and Andy Jacobs, Monday to Friday afternoons 1 till 4 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.